And this is No Hate Radio.
I'm no stranger to the rain. Oh, no. I'm no stranger to the rain.
Welcome to another session of No Hate Radio. On the Allendale Equity Justice channel, we broadcast from St. Petersburg, Florida. Here on No Hate Radio, we hope to provide thoughtful discussion at the intersection of law, social justice, and public policy. Our continuing theme and focus as we discuss issues of our time is why and what are we going to do about it. As always, the only prohibition is hate and the promotion of hate. Today, we're launching a new topic, which we believe is of utmost importance and timely. This broadcast is being released on July 6th, 2024, which is less than 120 days from Election Day 2024. And not just any election day, but it's the national, state, local elections all over America, where not only will the presidential election be determined, but so will about a third of the United States Senate, all of the members of the House of Representatives, the majority of most Texas and most state legislatures, as well as something like 25 governorships. That may be not exactly accurate, but it gives you an idea of the momentous importance of November 5th, Election Day 2024. By way of disclosure, as we launch into this new subject area, a new topic that we're going to talk about, No Hate Radio neither endorses or promotes any candidate or political party. No Hate Radio is not a surrogate or an advocate in any political race. We are not now, we do not intend to be, and that's not our role. Our intention is, however, to review and reflect on the overall political landscape in America, and that is the new topic that we are undertaking, I think with a certain degree of trepidation, but nonetheless, we're going to undertake it anyway. And we're going to undertake starting today by examining the quality or lack of quality in political debate today. We will seek to reflect some on the past as a guidepost for the present and the future. We will seek to examine political issues of our time with a view toward understanding why they are the way they are, what has happened that has placed us at this juncture, this particular intersection of law, social justice, and public policy, and I think this is the first time I've ever said it this way, what, if anything, are we going to do about it? Now, I want to start with some quotes. Some of these quotes you may have heard if you're kind of a student of the political world. George Washington, when he was president of the newly organized, newly formed United States, had one mantra, one thing that he stated in his political philosophy when asked about it. He cautioned against political parties. He said that political parties would create division, they would create ghost governments and other things that he was concerned about in his time. But you wonder now, as we see the political landscape today, if there wasn't quite a bit of merit to President Washington's concerns in that regard. The other quote, and I like to give credit to the people who actually invented, were the author of a quote. Here I'm not sure I can do that because I'm not sure where the law professor that I learned this from got it. But the quote goes something like this, sort of by paraphrasing it. In the political arena, when the quality of debate descends and becomes no quality or low quality, Why is it that truth is the very first casualty? That is, truth begins to lose importance when the debate goes low. And at this point, it seems the political arena in our country, at least, and by some distant observation, it seems also in other countries, at least from a long, distant viewer's viewpoint, the political arena has become the scene of the so-called culture wars. We'd like to examine that. The purpose being this: when you create or form a government, is it the purpose of that government to enforce certain cultural norms or create and then establish certain cultural norms, or is it the role of a government, as our founding persons said, to provide for the common defense, provide for the general welfare? Is it the role of government to act as the arbiter of the normative or not normative or cultural behaviors of its citizens? Or, as John McCain famously said at a time in the United States Senate when he as a Republican and John Kerry as a Democrat often worked together to establish consensus in the United States Senate and move government forward, McCain is known for saying, "They sent us up here to govern. Let's do that first. And then let's argue about these other points." I think that comment, that philosophy, that belief system, it was largely, you could observe it in the way that those two senators, John McCain and John Kerry, one from each side of the aisle, saw their role as being a role to govern and to run the country and to provide for the common defense and to establish the, as it were, carry the mail, more or less. Do the things that people rely on. Build the roads. Build the bridges. Do the things that are important. The question that has to be asked, since the massive amount of political debate today surrounds culture wars, one could ask, and not to sound cavalier in any way because I don't mean to, but one could ask, who's running the government while all this is happening? It's a legitimate question, friends, I really think. And I think that we can see the issues that have sharply divided America and presumably the world, and there are many facets of them, but let's just take the easy ones, the ones that make the headlines all the time. The abortion issue, which is not only a health care issue involving women's right to determine their health care and determine what they need, and their right to determine whether they will be a parent or not, and that sort of argument. Whereas the other side of that argument is that that's not a woman's right to choose, and that abortion is murder, and that it's morally wrong. So what we have there is the interjection of the religious organizations, the churches and groups that impose or want to impose a particular moral mantra or structure over the top of the legal system. And that's been the source of massive debate, disagreement, difficulties over many years, not just since the passage of the Roe versus Wade decision in 1972, but before and after. And that's an easy one. That's the one that everyone is probably familiar with. Another one is immigration. Immigration seems to be a hot and highly divisive topic that people want to discuss. They don't really want to discuss it. They want to take their position, whichever position it is, one being that this was a nation built on immigrants, that immigrants are the people who have created a great deal of the wealth and prosperity in this nation, that immigrants today work and take jobs that American citizens don't want to take. There's the other side of that debate, which is that immigrants are filling the nation. They're coming in and depending on our systems, overcrowding our schools, and are not contributors to the social system. So we have serious division on the issue of immigration, and it creates a lot of press. It creates a lot of public interest. It's easy to photograph difficulties at the borders, and it's easy to discuss border walls and things like that. It's easy to take a side in the immigration debate, and that's therefore one of the hot topics that will continue to be a hot topic. Another one of those, just so we don't spend too much time identifying very specific ones, but another one that most everyone has heard something about is climate change. Either people believe that climate change is inevitable, physical characteristic, humans don't do anything to change it, it is what it is, or they believe it doesn't really exist at all, or other people who believe that not only does it exist, we're at a crisis stage in it, either at or past the point of no return, and is existential threat to humanity everywhere. So you have very little room for common ground on those issues. All of those issues create intense debate and result in labels being applied to people and to groups of people. It seems that we as humans always want to establish labels on people, whether it's, quote, our team or the other team. So the big one, the one that everyone constantly uses and reuses, is liberal versus conservative. So are you a liberal or are you a conservative? And frankly, what does that mean? What is the definition? What is the thought process that causes a person to say, I'm either liberal or conservative? And you'll notice that you don't hear very much today about the apparently vanishing person called the moderate. We don't seem to know who that person is or whether that person still exists or not. So as division becomes more and more intense and partisanship seems to drive all political debate, then we're going to ask the question, if I want to be identified as a conservative, then do I have to take the party line on all positions? Do I have to support every candidate who says they are a conservative or match my political party? Do I have to support every cause and every belief system? Is there any freedom of individual choice if I want to be affiliated with one political party and be identified as a conservative, or is it all or nothing? Is it a zero-sum game? The question becomes, what items, what things are near and dear to you as an individual? So what we have now in this country, at least I'm told this by reliable pollsters, I read it from reputable sources, Gallup poll and different ones. We have a large number, a growing number, I'm going to call it growing. We have a growing number of our citizens who have dropped out of this system. They've dropped out of the system altogether. Either they don't vote at all and they don't contribute to political candidates and they don't, quote, play the game at all. They want to disregarded as though it's not real. We have those who are dogmatic in their support of one party or the other, and therefore elections, and this is my bold statement for today, elections are no longer decided on the merits or lack of merits of an issue. They are decided, sadly, on one of two things: personality support for one group or another, or more sadly, apathy, a simple disregard for the entire thing, because so much misinformation. And you'll notice there was a hesitancy there because I was trying to use a term that's a little bit more socially acceptable than the one I was thinking. But there is so much misinformation, so much disinformation, and those are two separate and distinct things. And now in the political arena, we see huge efforts at disinformation, at creating false narratives and causing people to believe those false narratives. At this time, then, it seems that we are in a position in the country where our political beliefs, our philosophies, our manner of understanding what goes on around us is driven by a few separate things. One, a political party affiliation. Second, or in addition to that, a notion of whether we individually are a, quote, conservative or liberal, or maybe if there's still someone who would call themselves a moderate. Our political philosophies and beliefs are not so much our own at this point, but they are driven by those things and those groups and those notions of what's right and wrong. This is, I think, one of the things that I want to see us develop as we go into this subject area is that this manner of associating with a belief system and then adopting those belief systems at a very, very intense, deeply personal level, including all aspects of that belief system, whether you would individually really believe that or not, is dangerous. And I believe the danger in it is this. In 1933, Adolf Hitler ran for the top office in Germany, which was a democratic republic at the time, and he ran as Vox Populi. He ran as the voice of the people. He said he was a populist, and he was the common man, and he was reaching out to every citizen in Germany because his view was the correct view, the right way to look at things. When Benito Mussolini came to power in Italy, he ran as a very staunch anti-socialist, anti-communist person, and claimed that those isms, socialism and communism, were the maximum evil in the world. They were the things that everyone had to guard against, and that he, Benito Mussolini, would protect Italy from socialism and communism. As history played out, Benito Mussolini turned out to be one of the most ruthless fascist dictators in the world until he was essentially assassinated. So the thing that we have to concern ourselves with, and the thing we want to evaluate and go into and talk to people about and get ideas from people about, is the American political landscape now seems to be driven by these ideological groups, and we seem to have lost individual self-determination to some extent in our political structure, and we seem to have to identify with ideas maybe that individually we don't care that much about or we don't want to identify with in order to be a member of a particular group. One of the things that I think our citizens tend to not do, unfortunately, is they tend to not get involved. They tend to focus on their individual lives. They tend to believe that somehow it will all work out all right. But as I've previously said on more than one occasion, one of the famous quotes from Benjamin Franklin back at the formation of this nation was that democracy is a very good form of government if you can keep it. The implied point there was that citizen involvement, citizen concern, individuals going out and participating in the government at some level or another, whether it is considering a given issue and attempting to influence the decision of their particular policymaker, or trying some other method to have the government operate from the ground up. So people like to use buzzwords. Populist, as I previously mentioned, was a word that I've heard used recently and that Adolf Hitler used and that other people have used. If you capture people on particular ideas by using buzzwords or what some people call clickbait, other terms, but what we need, I believe, in this country, and this is why I'm so strongly encouraging, if you have ideas that you'd like to have talked about and you're not a person who wants to participate in public speaking, that's fine. Send us an email, call us, talk to us about it, because we want to do a deep drill down in this situation for those of us who really are concerned maybe about the direction of America. Those of us who may be concerned for one reason or another, whether you consider yourself a conservative, a moderate, a liberal, a progressive, or whatever, you don't like the low quality of the political debate. You don't like the personal nature of political dialogue. Some of us witness and hear what we hear in the political arena, and we think that it has become a battle of personalities, a battle of insults, and who can be more unkind, who can be more degrading to someone else, rather than the discussion of issues. Friends, this is important. Benjamin Franklin was visionary when he said, democracy is a wonderful form of government if you can keep it. George Washington made a long diatribe speech during his presidency against the formation of political parties, saying that it would substitute for people's thinking and judgment. It would cause a ghost system to operate the country. These are important issues. We as citizens have an obligation to be involved and not to do it as I hate this person, I hate that person. It needs to be a marketplace of ideas. As we gather speakers to talk to these issues, I want to literally encourage, if you're listening to this broadcast and you have ideas, you have things that you feel need to be discussed and ought to be discussed, or speakers you think ought to be heard, ideas that should be heard from written publications, please call our phone line, which is 442-4-NO-HATE, or go to our website. The easiest way to access things, just go to nohateradio.com. There is a box where you can send us your comments directly off of our website. We would like to engage and involve people who might be interested and might be listening in these discussions, because it's not our intention, as I said earlier, it is not our intention to endorse or not endorse any candidate or to be or for or against any political party. It is to suggest that what we need in this country is thoughtful discourse, is individuals coming back, talking about merits of ideas, talking about things that make sense, talking about what government really should do and maybe what government needs to not participate in. These are not new ideas. These are ideas that were actually written in the written word in the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. The concept of separation of powers, the concept of separation of church and state, and all these other things are not new ideas. These are the ideas on which this country was founded, and I wonder if there are people who would like to enter into this discussion, bring forward issues, and help us develop the issues as we go through discussing the political landscape in America today. With that, please join us again. As you know, if you've listened before or if you haven't, we need to tell you that we introduce a new episode or a new broadcast mostly every other week. I think we have 7 or 8 that are available to you now that you might listen to and think about, and that the goal is to consider every topic we bring up with the idea of why is it that way and what, if anything, can we do about it. With that, I hope you have a great day. Come back and listen to the next one. Pick up the next one. Go get some of the older ones and listen to them. We would love to have your input. This is No Hate Radio.